Get into it. There's been more developments in regards to the Trump assassination attempt. I'm going to be showing you the actual video, a crystal clear version of the video of that crazy day where someone tried to take former President Trump's life, soon to be the next president, if you ask me. And then we're going to be talking about a little something that's come to the desk of, I believe, Senator Josh Hawley. And that is, there are some whistleblowers who are alleging that the Secret Service agents that were on the scene with Trump weren't actually Secret Service agents. They were actually Homeland Security agents who would have been issued by Mayorkas. And this is a terrible development, and there are so many questions to be asked. And people are confronting the head of the Secret Service directly at the RNC. They're not playing around. I got Senator Josh Hawley talking about the meeting that he had with her, the briefing that took place. Senator Ron Johnson as well is going to be talking about that. They're asking some pretty big questions. They're giving us some good information. Then what am I showing you past that? I'm going to be showing you there was a development with this kid. Apparently he had 3 overseas encrypted accounts, which, okay, this is not just a regular kid anymore, in my opinion. And then after that, Ron Johnson, then the confrontation, and that's about it. Let's start right here at this crystal clear version of what happened that day. Let's check it out.
If you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Given what's come across Hawley's desk, is that these people were actually Homeland Security. That you think, well, they're still up to a certain extent. Well, they're on the proper protocol that Secret Service would take, which actually is the doing this. This may have been like, you are ending up whatsoever, Mr. President. Sorry. Hold on. No, they see a service. They might have just jumped up. We're all moving. We're moving. I believe there was an attack on, might have been Reagan. There was on someone, and he wanted to the White House, I believe. Secret Service was like, no, plane, which means that we're where you're going to be safe and where you're going right now. So that's the reason why all this actually took place. Is because these people weren't trained up the way that they're supposed to be. Now, this is what I'm talking about when I say that. This came across, let me just zoom this in a little bit. This is from Senator Josh Hawley, and he's writing to Mayorkas, and he's saying, "Dear Mayorkas, writing this with concerns brought to me by whistleblowers about your department's stunning failure to protect President Trump. On July 13th, Secretary of Homeland Security, you are ultimately responsible for your agency and its components, including the Secret Service." So now it's, and let me just correct myself. Mayorkas is still, either way, Secret Service or Homeland Security, he's still responsible ultimately, like Josh Hawley just said, but he's supposed to be giving them Secret Service agents, not Homeland Security agents. Whistleblowers who have direct knowledge of the event approached my office. According to their allegations, on the 13th rally, on July 13th, rally was considered to be a loose security event. What? It's a rally outside for President Trump. For example, direct detection canines were not used to monitor entry and detect threats in the usual manner. Individuals without proper designation were able to gain access to backstage areas. Department personnel did not appropriately police the security buffer around the podium, which also kind of makes sense why. Maybe that's why that guy was able to get that shot. Maybe there were supposed to be people there because, you know, people have brought up the point. The fact that that guy had something huge and black in his hands and he's pointing it at the president, you know, you think that would make you a threat and you would get regulated right away, but they just allowed him to kind of do that. They allowed 3 photographers to actually do that. And we're also not stationed at regular intervals around the event's security perimeter. Now, this is where it gets a little wild. In addition, whistleblower allegations suggested a majority of DHS officials were not in fact Secret Service agents, but instead drawn from the department's Homeland Security investigations. This is especially concerning given that these agents were unfamiliar with the standard protocol typically used at these type of events, according to the allegations. This is very, very, very interesting. So they did not give President Trump the correct people. And this is exactly why Tim Kennedy and even myself, as soon as this happened, were saying Trump needs his own security that is not attached to any administration, not any agencies, no ex-agency this, nothing like that. He needs his own security that he pays. He'll be just fine. He's a billionaire. He can handle that type of thing, because all that fumbling and bumbling that Miss Melissa McCarthy was doing out there, unacceptable completely. Now, we're going to get to the whole thing of this kid having 3 encrypted accounts. Again, this is taking this kid out of the ranks of being just a regular kid. This is not what we're looking at anymore. He's not just a wild kid. You got 3 encrypted accounts. I get it. Young people are very savvy, but you know, when it's the kid who took some shots at Trump on a roof with a rifle, this is a whole different function. Who were those accounts attached to? Who was he talking to through those accounts? What kind of instructions were they giving him, if any? Oh, man, so much to talk about. All right, let's go.
Warning over the security failures that allowed Thomas Crooks to get a direct shot at former President Trump on Saturday. Sources tell Fox News that Butler Township police flagged the Secret Service over a lack of manpower near the building that Crooks scaled and shot from. A New York Post headline says, quote, Trump rally shooter Thomas Crooks tracked ex-president's appearances for months. 3 people were shot at the rally, 1 fatally. Right now in Pennsylvania, private funeral underway for Corey Comparatore. The volunteer fire chief died while shielding his family in the crowd. Let's bring in Kara Frederick, former DOD counterterrorism analyst. And Kara, the big question in this investigation is how in the world that rooftop was left uncovered. In the world of the Secret Service and presidential campaign events, it is an absolute no-no for an elevated platform with line of sight to where the president is going to be to remain either unblocked or unprotected. Do you have any theories as to what might have happened?
No, I think we're clearly not getting the full picture here because, as you intimated, this is physical security 101. And the fact that that rooftop was not secured is a massive oversight. So in terms of theorizing on what happened, it is critical for a security plan to have your local law enforcement, to have your state officials, and to have your federal authorities all coordinating. It appears that there was some sort of lapse in coordination here. But what I think the bigger question is there are reports that he was surveilling President Trump's movements over the course of months. How do we not know how he was surveilling? What digital platforms was he using to do it? Every type of sensor that the world is saturated with right now emits what we call a digital exhaust. They should be able to track down his geolocation based off of the digital surveillance platforms he was supposedly using. They should have a pattern of life for this kid. They should have content emanating out of that to paint a more fulsome intelligence picture to get after this guy. The fact that that wasn't done beforehand, and it doesn't appear to be, they don't appear to be exploiting that data, at least accurately for the public to see now. This is a massive oversight as well.
You know, an intriguing little development in all of this, according to Congressman Michael Waltz from Florida, in that briefing with the Secret Service and the FBI, members of Congress were told that crooks had 3 encrypted accounts on overseas platforms. I don't think the nature of the platforms was described. We don't know if they were financial accounts or if they were social media accounts or some other kind of account. But now there appears to be some sort of international component to all of this.
Yeah, and I think this is so interesting too. But as something I did for almost 10 years with the government and then with the big tech company, what you do is you can extract data from these platforms. You can figure out, who were these platforms that he was supposed to be using, even if they were encrypted. Who was he talking to? What are his IP addresses? Can you geolocate him to those physical locations? This is something tech companies can do. Was he using aliases? Are there any? What are the connections to that network via those platforms? Like you said, we don't know the nature of those encrypted overseas accounts, but there are people who are in the government, even who are outside of the government, who can work to exploit that information that those accounts would convey. So the hearing next week should give us a lot of answers because this is happening. The public is just not aware of what actually is going on.
Wild. 3 encrypted accounts, and they don't know if they're financial or social media. Well, if they were social media, what encrypted accounts could he have? Right? So my guess is that they're messaging platforms. Now here, I'll just go straight nefarious. These are messaging platforms that he's having with some kind of agency, and they're giving him some kind of instructions on what to do. The fact that he was tracking the president for months is absolutely crazy, going from rally to rally like he's a Swiftie or something, and not getting spotted every single time he's at these rallies, not having any digital footprint. He's 20. He doesn't have any posts. He doesn't have Instagram, Facebook, like all the things that Snapchat, all the things that they have, YouTube, a YouTube comment, a Gmail. This is all nonsense. We are past lone gunmen. We are far past this is just some wild kid who decided to do this. This kid was involved in some stuff, obviously. Like, what else can you say about this? Obviously involved in some stuff. Now let's move on. We're going to start talking about the head of the Secret Service. She has been getting a lot of questions from a lot of congressmen, a lot of senators. She was in a meeting, and apparently, according to Josh Hawley, she did quite poorly in that meeting and didn't answer enough questions. I'm going to play this right now. Let's go.
All right, some interesting developments today. Kimberly Cheadle, the head of the U.S. Secret Service, did participate in a virtual briefing today. Senator Josh Hawley was one of the principal participants in that. Homeland Security Committee, Republican senator from Missouri. Senator, very good to have you.
Thank you.
How did it go?
But badly. I mean, let's be honest, the Secret Service is out there and the FBI now doing these secret calls, these behind-the-scenes briefings where, by the way, they don't really answer questions. They strictly limited the number of questions. The Secret Service director herself did not actually brief. She was present on the call, but didn't do hardly any briefing. When she did try to answer a question or two, it did not go well. She was not well prepared. This needs to be done in public. Bottom line, we need public hearings. We need a full and thorough investigation. Neil, what we know about this is that there were 62 minutes, 62, between the time that the Secret Service identified the shooter as a person of interest, somebody acting suspiciously, and the time he started firing shots at the president. I mean, what in the world is going on? We've got to find out.
I misspoke. Of course, that briefing was yesterday. There are going to be many more to come. You want to hold the authorities accountable and find out what was behind their thinking. But to your point, Senator, she has indicated she's not stepping down. She intends to stay there, and unless the president and/or Alejandro Mayorkas, her boss at Homeland Security, pushes her out, she's there, right?
Yeah, then nobody, here's the pattern, Neil. Nobody in this administration is ever responsible, ever takes any responsibility for anything. Look at Afghanistan, 13 service members dead, hundreds if not thousands of civilians left behind to the enemy. And what did Joe Biden do? Nothing. Who was fired? Nobody. Now we've got a former president nearly assassinated. We have a good American shot to death at this rally, others in critical condition, and no one will take any responsibility. I mean, these people ought to be gone. Absolutely, the director ought to be gone. The whole top echelon ought to be gone. But I tell you what, we're going to get to the bottom of this and figure out what these people were doing. How did they allow this to happen? Why did they allow a good American to be killed? Why did they allow Trump to go on stage knowing they had a potential shooter? It's outrageous.
Several.
And again, going back to what Josh Hawley actually got after he did this whole thing. After he did this, he actually got this paperwork or allegations from these whistleblowers. So if it's true, that means that the reason all this happened, 62 minutes, remember that's crazy. So for a clear hour, they knew, and they're like, there's someone on that roof. Hey, Melissa, someone on that roof. She's like, yeah, who's on that roof? I don't know. It's Trump. Man, these MAGA people, they're wild. There's a guy on the roof celebrating. Oh, is he celebrating? Okay. What? Should we tell the snipers? Nah. What are the snipers? They're probably busy. This is great. This is insane. But when they're actually not brushed up on what Secret Service agents are supposed to do, this is how this type of thing happens. Now, that's me being very kind. In my mind, it's all very nefarious. These things were allowed to happen. It's not just that they messed up. I'm making fun that they're all goofy and everything. But this is very nefarious. If there was a sniper on the roof, so Trump is here, there's a sniper this way, that sniper should be able to see him. Even still, like I was just making a joke, why wouldn't, if they knew someone was on the roof, why not say to the sniper, hey, sniper, you got a scope, right? The sniper's like, yeah, right on top of my rifle. Wow, okay. Can you look and see who's on that roof? I can, and it's a guy with a rifle. Okay. Can you shoot him? I can. They had an hour to have that conversation. A clear hour. And after all that time, they're like, I guess Trump's going to go on stage. Like, I guess so. Like, and I don't know. This is all looking very nefarious. And the fact that this woman, this head of the Secret Service, the fact that she is not answering questions properly, not prepared. When I show you the dressing down she got at the RNC as well, this woman almost seems as much of a patsy as the kid who ended up taking the shots. I mean, she doesn't know what to say. And the way that she's being, I don't know if she's just trying to protect herself. And she's like, if I say anything too out of line, if I say anything too incriminating, something may happen to me. But she's not stepping down. She's obviously messed up very badly. And I don't see any of this happening. Yes, government and these people, they're very incompetent. Of course, there's incompetent people everywhere. But this just, it all just seems too nefarious. Way too nefarious. And listen, I believe in Hollow Earth. So I'm going to obviously believe that there are some nefarious intentions here, okay? Let's just be clear on where I stand with things. Let's play this next thing. This is Senator Ron Johnson asking some very important questions that we should all be asking.
Senator, so you see the news about what went on with the almost where President Trump was assassinated. You've been in briefings. What have you been hearing?
Well, first of all, let me tell you, from my standpoint, the briefings were infuriating. Director Cheadle started out and she admitted there were mistakes and gaffes. Yeah, those mistakes and gaffes result in the death of an American hero who died protecting his family, 2 other Americans grievously wounded, and a former president's candidate almost assassinated. So I was hoping, because we were told that we were going to be able to ask questions. 4 senators got to ask questions. The first one was the best one by Senator Cornyn, who asked, when did the Secret Service first become aware of this potential threat, this individual? And she said it was over an hour beforehand, as Congressman Green just talked about. I would have wanted to ask, the Secret Service snipers were able to take out this individual moments after he opened fire. How long were the sniper team aware of this individual? How long did they have him in their sights? Did they ask for permission? Was permission not granted for them to take out this threat before he opened fire? Those are the questions I want to ask. I've sent a letter yesterday demanding these agencies preserve all of their records. I've already got a long list of questions. At the very end of the briefing, they said, well, if you have additional questions, submit them to DHS and the FBI. Well, I've submitted them. I'll be waiting for answers. I won't be holding my breath.
Even this guy knows.
Senator,
This guy's like, they're not going to answer our questions. Are you kidding me? I would love to hear what these guys really think. These senators, like, what do you think really happened? Because what it seems like to me is like they wanted another JFK. They thought this was going to be a nice, clean, boom, get him out of here. Boom, the guy that took the shots, he's gone. Can't answer any questions. Sorry, these are going to be locked up for the next 70 years. That's exactly what they wanted. That's exactly what they wanted. And it didn't happen. And something tells me, because this kid, it sounds like in this first clip that I showed you, it sounded like this kid got off like 6 shots. How do you, with a sniper looking at this guy, he got off 6 shots. You know what that tells me is that the only reason they took him out, because if you hear it about 5 or 6 shots and then you hear another shot and then it's done. And I think that last shot is the sniper taking the kid out. I think they waited because, and this is just me, I'll say it this way. Maybe they waited for it to get done, and then they said, okay, now put that other guy out. Job's done. And then all of a sudden, triumphant, just raises his hand up, says, fight, fight, fight. And they go, oh no, we made sure that real Secret Service wasn't there. We made sure the kid got the shots off. Oh no, but he's fine. His ear, what? Are you sure? And that's what happened. Look at these goofy guys. I swear I could have done a better job than this. Look at Melissa McCarthy. Look at her. Just so goofy. What's she doing? Looks like a Will Ferrell movie when she's in action. Look at her. I'm gonna put it away? Okay, no, I'll keep it out. Huh? What? Okay, should I put it away now? Okay, I'll put it away now. What are you doing? Silly. And then my man President Trump, when he arrived at the RNC, he was like, make sure I have tall men around me. And they're like, well, Mr. President, we want to be a little inclusive. We were hoping Becky could come. She's 5'4" and 100 pounds. And he was like, tall men. He's like, I'm 6'3". Everyone has to be 6'3" and high. Every person has to be able to lift me up over their head. This is what I want. They're like, all right. But I mean, we'd really like to be inclusive. I mean, Darlene's here and she's quite the, get out of my face. That's for sure what happened. Angry. I'd be so angry. Especially hearing afterwards that the head of the Secret Service. She's like, my mission is by 2030 to have 30% female agents. Why? Why? Are you crazy? Your mission by 2030 should be to have huge black agents. Let's be real. There should be big black agents who are 6'5" with big beards, and they look intimidating, and they don't even wear suits. They just wear tank tops, and they're like, and they all breathe like that. That should be your plan by 2030. Are you crazy? I'm talking about presidents here. It's not time to play games. Jeez. Anyways, let's get into this. This is the head of the Secret Service. She's getting confronted. You're not going to be able to hear much. I'm just going to play this.
All of us were on the call today. Very disappointed. We were all in the queue trying to answer.
So it's very, very hard to hear, right? They didn't get a good recording, but this is two senators in front of her right here. And both of the senators are saying, we're very disappointed. They're asking for her resignation if she doesn't ask any questions. They're asking, how did this happen? The one thing that she says, the head of the Secret Service, is she says, this is not on us. When they ask, how did you allow President Trump to actually go on stage? And then they end up saying, you answer to us. Like, they want their answers because, like you heard in those other two clips that I played, she didn't answer many questions. And these questions are for her to answer. Now Mayorkas is being questioned as well. You should expect a public hearing very soon. I would think in the next week or two, they're going to have these people subpoenaed and have them sitting in front of a bunch of congressmen where they will get yelled at. And sadly, nothing's going to happen. I mean, let's be real. Hopefully, this woman has to resign. That's the big hope, is that she ends up having to resign, because she did not handle herself properly at all.
551, according to the timeline of your deputy, you identified a potential threat. And then at 552, you told, or someone told, that the sniper that he was there. But can you give us an explanation? Why would anyone allow the president to go on stage when you know you've got a potential threat and you've got snipers that are trained on it? Why? I don't think that this is a forum.
So she ends up saying this is not the forum to have this discussion. And they're like, well, then we'll go anywhere else. I had to listen to this very close to here, and there's no caption on this. She's like, well, then we'll go somewhere else and talk about this. And she's basically just like, no, I actually want to run away from all of you. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to just run away. Like, this is ridiculous. And the fact that she said it's not on us, you know, shout out to these two senators or congressmen, people. Is that what we say? Congressmen who actually chased them down. And they were not letting up. They were like, you have to answer these questions. She's not reacting like somebody who just made some mistakes. She's reacting like somebody who's a fall guy, where she has no answers for what happened. None at all. This is clearly on her and Mayorkas. No answers at all for these people. You know, if you were honestly doing your job, okay, this is just me. This is my thought process. If you were honestly doing your job, you wouldn't have to get chased around like this. She's making it so she has to get subpoenaed and brought to a hearing in order to answer these questions properly. It's just wild. Wild what happens here. So she's just getting confronted here. They're yelling at her. They're just saying you have no concern. They want her to answer questions. She's refusing to answer any questions. It's crazy. And then we find out that, you know, she's the head of the Secret Service. She's supposed to be supplying President Trump with Secret Service agents. And instead, they're people from Homeland Security that aren't trained up properly. Nuts. Absolutely nuts. And where were the actual Secret Service agents that could have been on scene? Where are they? They're not with RFK, right? They're not with RFK. They're around Biden. But Biden's sleeping in Delaware right now, right? He's trying to sleep off his sickness right now, preparing a speech to step out of the race. So a lot of this doesn't make sense. You got to assume the most nefarious thing. And I'll just go back to what I said before. They wanted this to be like a JFK story. Also, just towards the notes I had, you know, the kid was walking around with a rangefinder. He was walking around with a rangefinder. And he must have had a backpack on, or he was just straight up carrying a rifle. He's just walking around with a rifle and a ladder. Like he was just there to do work. Like, this is insane. Then on top of that, they're saying that they can't get into the kid's phone. He has these encrypted accounts, and they can't get into his phone. The United States government is saying that they can't get into his phone. Supposedly, the best and greatest ally possible to the United States of America is Israel. They're the creators of Pegasus technology. Pegasus technology, they have it to the point, Pegasus 2.0, where you don't even have to click anything. They just need your phone number and they could access your phone. You're telling me they haven't had the thought process to reach out to Israel to say, we need access to this phone. Can you help us? None of that's happened so far. I don't know, man. I don't know. Like I said before, and I've said it many times, Trump has ticked off a lot of people. Agencies, political parties, world leaders, you name it. This guy has gone to bat for the American people in more ways than any other politician of our lifetime. So the list of people that want him gone is long. And then you can attach to that lefty lunatics out the wazoo. Just saying. Anyways, guys, just wanted to bring you that information. I know we ran a little longer than I usually make these videos, but it's just a little information dump. There's just more stuff keeps coming up, and there's going to be more. When the hearings drop, I will bring you the highlights to all of those. But for now, just like, subscribe, turn on the notifications. It helps us tremendously. Other than that, I'm out.